The ocean. Our story begins on the ocean, with wind and rain and thunder and lightning and waves. A hurricane roared and raged through the night, and in the middle of the chaos, a cargo ship was sinking down, down, down to the ocean floor. The ship left hundreds of crates floating on the surface, but as the hurricane thrashed and swirled and knocked them around, the crates also began sinking into the depths. One after another, they were swallowed up by the waves until only 5 crates remained. By morning, the hurricane was gone. There were no clouds, no ships, no land in sight. There was only calm water and clear skies, and those 5 crates lazily bobbing along an ocean current. Days passed, and then a smudge of green appeared on the horizon. As the crates drifted closer, the soft green shapes slowly sharpened into the hard edges of a wild, rocky island. I'd like to introduce you to one of my favorite kids' books, aimed at grade 4 to 6. It is The Wild Robot, by author and illustrator Peter Brown. This is Peter Brown's first novel, with a second one actually coming out in the spring. I'll tell you a little bit about that later. So, The Wild Robot takes place on a wild island, totally uninhabited by all people and technology. That is, until a crate containing Rosm Unit 7134 crashes onto the island. Rosm Unit 7134 is a robot, but not just any robot. I'll let her introduce herself. Chapter 3, The Robot. The robot's computer brain booted up. Her programs began coming online. And then, still packed in her crate, she automatically started to speak. Hello, I am Rosm Unit 7134, but you may call me Roz. While my robotic systems are activating, I will tell you about myself. Once fully activated, I will be able to move and communicate and learn. Simply give me a task and I will complete it. Over time, I will find better ways of completing my tasks. I will become a better robot. When I am not needed, I will stay out of the way and keep myself in good working order. Thank you for your time. I am now fully activated. The rest of the book is filled with Roz's many adventures as she adapts to life on a wild island. We see her scaling mountains, hiking through the forest, meeting tragedy face to face, interacting with animals and learning to speak their languages, learning about herself and what she might have been designed for, learning to build shelters, living through the seasons of the year and all that entails, protecting the animals that once rejected her, and ultimately finding a place of belonging. All through the book are beautiful illustrations by Peter Brown. This is my favorite illustration in the book, I think. It's just Roz in the middle of the forest. So as you can see, they are quite simple but very striking. And they really assist with telling the story. Roger Sutton, reviewing for the Horn Book, has this to say. While Brown is honest about the harshness of wilderness life and informative about the nature and challenges of the island's ecosystem, most of the crises in the book are relatively low-key and managed within a few chapters, all very short and often ending with cliffhangers, making the book a natural for classroom reading aloud. The omniscient direct-address prose is simple and declarative, but plenty of emotion is evoked by the characters, even Roz, who claims not to even have emotions, but whose mothering of an orphaned goose tells us different. This is another illustration example. That's the goose egg of the orphaned goose that was just mentioned. For a teaching activity, I think it would be really fun to tie this book to the music program of studies for any of grades 4, 5, or 6. One of the skills to be taught in music is creating, and this book lends itself to so much opportunity for creativity. These specific learning outcomes under creativity are particularly fitting, and they begin in grade 4, continuing on until grade 6. Number 1 is use suitable sound effects for poems and songs. I know this isn't a poem, but I was thinking you could take excerpts out of the book, like animal sounds filled the forest, chirps and wing beats and rustlings in the underbrush, And then from the sea cliffs there came new sounds, heavy, crunching footsteps. You can already hear there's a lot of onomatopoeia in this book, so it would be quite easy to add sound effects. In the descriptions of storms, with the rain fell harder, the wind blew faster, the thunder cracked louder, rushing rivers of rainwater runoff, and Roz sloshing through the forest. There's so much opportunity for sound effect to be added to this book. Specific learning outcome number 10, notate and perform original compositions. It does not have to be a formal notation. So with that, kids could just even write, like, the deer family sounds like this, and there's always snapping twigs and crunching leaves. Or you could write notation in this form. It's totally free. So basically whatever you want it to look like, as long as you know what needs to be taking place. That gives kids total freedom to pick from any chapter of the book, any amount of pages, and just to create a soundscape and then perform it for their peers. Because the island is wild, but there is a robot involved, the soundscape is massive. And again, there's just so much opportunity to explore and create based on the scenes and sounds described in the book. There's one sound in particular towards the end of the book, the click. What could you do with the click? You could use any kind of software to create a click. You could do like a snapping click, actually click a button. And the click is significant. It kind of gives us a clue to the next book, which is called The Wild Robot Escapes. The Wild Robot is also a really interesting commentary on the interaction and intersection of nature and technology, with Roz being a totally new addition to this island that had never seen anything like her. And all of the learning that she has to do. So you could have discussion on AI and on, like, what is a robot, what makes a robot, how do you make a robot. It's really easy segue into building, into science, into probably even some math, talking about the angles and different things like that. I don't know. I think it's a really versatile book. I chose music partly because music is my major, but also I think that would be a really creative and fun way to engage with a book. So again, this is The Wild Robot by Peter Brown.